Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing us to present the result of this analysis. These are my disclosures. We're going to present here the quality of life mathematical analysis modeling comparing sacral neuromodulation versus type 8 botulinum toxin in the treatment of overactive bladder. This is a cost-effectiveness analysis made in my country, which is Colombia. Our objective is to perform a mathematical model in order to compare the effectiveness and utility of two different therapies for the treatment of idiopathic overactive bladder, which are botulinum toxin and sacral neuromodulation, considering the cost of both therapies in Colombia. The methods are based in an economic model designed for a consultor. In our model, we consider three endpoints, which are costs, quality of life, and effectiveness. We made a discrete event simulation model with a 10-year horizon of analysis. The DES model considers the time-dependent data, especially when this data occurs more than once, which means that each case can have different results inside the same model. We did one simulation with 1,000 iterations. Our results were expressed in terms of QALYs. The quality adjusted life years allowed us to capture the length of life adjusted by its quality. We consider also the costs, and we consider only the direct cost of each therapy, including the complication of them. The effectiveness were based on a systematic search, and these are the sources of our systematic search of the literature. We use the PICO strategy to obtain the best articles, trying to avoid a selection bias. Finally, we considered 33 articles for effectiveness, 7 for quality of life, and 8 for incontinence control. These are some of them for effectiveness of sacral neuromodulation and botulinum toxin. The results in terms of effectiveness of this systematic search reveals effectiveness of 74 to 93% for sacral neuromodulation and 57 to 66 for botulinum toxin. Our results. Through a 10-year horizon analysis, the botulinum toxin had an additional total cost of $1,038. The treatment with sacral neuromodulation obtained 5.67 QALYs versus 5.38 QALYs obtained with botulinum toxin, with 0.28 incremental QALYs. Also, the average incontinence episodes per day were 4 for the sacral neuromodulation and 4.68 for botulinum toxin. In terms of cost effectiveness, sacral neuromodulation in our analysis was less costly and more effective than botulinum toxin. This graphic resumes the behavior of the 1,000 simulation what we performed, in where we can see by the probabilistic analysis that sacral neuromodulation has more QALYs and didn't increase the costs. In our analysis, we conclude that randomized clinical trials have short horizon for the unavoidable economy decisions, and this kind of mathematical modeling allows us to project the results in the long term. Sacral neuromodulation has a higher quality than botulinum toxin, has a higher utility than botulinum toxin in terms of quality of life and urinary incontinence episodes avoided by day with lower costs. Thank you very much.
Excellent presentation. In your cost analysis, which I didn't see in the abstract, did you figure in on the SNM, sacral neuromodulation, the cost of revisions, hospitalization, and complications in the model?
All of them were considered.
Liz, how did you validate, that was the first question, and in regard to Sanders' question, how did you include that maybe Botox might not be effective for 10 years for those patients? Did you assume it will be effective for 10 years for each patient?
No, we took all of the data from the systematic search to have the results in terms of effectiveness and complication and adverse events for both therapies.
So that means you're assuming that Botox and neuromodulation will be effective for 10 years for each of these patients?
Yes.
Liz? Yes?
Thank you for the excellent presentation. Mohammed Abdel Fattah from UK, just waving for you to see me there. Would you think that this modeling would apply for every country? The question basically, you know, when you say QALYs, for example, in UK, one QALY is acceptable up to £20,000. What about in other countries, you know, how would your results affect our practice?
I think the most interesting part of this kind of analysis is that in each country, the costs are different. So that type of model can be made, customized by each country in order to make the economic decisions, because using the randomized controlled trials, the follow-up maybe not to be enough to make this kind of decision. So you can take all of the results of the very good randomized controlled trial that we have, but with short follow-up, and to project these results to a longer time to make economic decisions.
Thank you.
The success rate for the InterStem looked a little bit on the high side, and I wonder if when you started your analysis, were you starting from the point where the patient enters the treatment algorithm and still has to go through a test stem, or starting from the point where they've been successful and have an implant and going forward at that point?
Sorry, can you repeat?
So when you calculate the success and the cost of the neuromodulation, are you starting from the point where someone has just entered the treatment algorithm and has to go through the testing, which many patients will fail? Or are you starting from the point where they've had a successful test, have an implant, and now they're going forward for the next 10 years?
Oh, it starts from the first stage.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.